Shen Qinqiu is an easily satisfied person. Since he has already transmigrated into proud immortal demon Wei, and in his original world had died and flipped his braid, he might as well muddle along and live here. He's come to this cultivation world into a body with fairly good cultivation and sword skills, someone who's even in a well-known righteous sect. If he wants to be in the limelight, he can be in the limelight. If he wants to shrink back, he can do as he likes at Changqiu Mountain Sect, Qingjing Peak, without anyone asking. There's nothing bad with this kind of situation. The only difficulty is finding a girl. This YY Stallion novel, as soon as a girl arrives, she becomes the protagonist. Everyone knows this. However, Shen Qinqiu doesn't have any high requirements. He'll be content to just while away his time here and wait to die. At any rate, it's not much different from his previous life. But so long as Luo Binghe is present, he can't even speak of being in the limelight. As long as he remained in this piece of messy, dogshit writing's original path, even if he retired to some idyllic place, after Luo Binghe rises to power, he has the ability to pluck him out of hiding and slice him into a human stick. He can forgive being transmigrated into a stallion novel, but why not as a protagonist? He can forgive being transmigrated as a Canon Fodder, but why must it be as the person who abused the protagonist and for the transmigration to happen after all the abuse has occurred? It's not like I don't want to hug this main character's thighs, but who let this fucking man be so dark? The revenge that needs to be taken is some thousands of deeds. Shen Qinqiu cursed the creator of this pitch-black protagonist Luo Binghe, airplane towards the sky. If you're going to write a stallion novel, then you should write a good one and not spin off some damned unconventional thing. In short, he can only try to communicate more with the system and figure out how to increase his points, advance through the stages, and unfreeze the OOC function. If the situation doesn't look good, it's still not too late for him to find another way out. For the first step, he intends to explore and familiarize himself with the surroundings. The Tiangong 12 peaks are like 12 imposing swords that have been sprung up between heaven and earth, pointing straight towards the sky, piercing through the clouds. Shen Qinqiu occupies Qingjing Peak, which is not the tallest among them, but is certainly the most quiet, green, and comfortably shaded, perfect for scholars. Additionally, most if not all of Shen Qinqiu's disciples must learn some Qingqi Shuhua and the like. Often sounds will drift by, like someone reading aloud or playing the Qing. Truly a wonderful place for youths to indulge in the liberal arts. It perfectly matches the original Shen Qinqiu's characteristics and is a good start for earning points. Some disciples passed by Shen Qinqiu and respectfully greeted him while he attempted to grasp the original Shen Qinqiu's mannerisms. His face cold, a slight nod, moving actively, but not withdrawing his inner self. Like this, he managed to pass, even though inside, his head ached at how much he was going to reconcile the character in the novel with the person alive right now. But these matters still aren't the most urgent for Shen Qinqiu to solve right this moment. If he wants to save himself, he first needs to get the original Shen Qinqiu's martial arts and sword techniques. If he hasn't remembered wrong, before Luo Binghe was blackened, Changqiu Mountain Sect encountered some big events, some attempted demon realm invasion, immortal assembly conference. All these require him to fight in person. If he only wears the appearance without any real ability, he's doomed. Don't even speak about progressing forward in the plot. The protagonist won't even have to act for some nobody Yao or Guai to play him to death. Shen Qinqiu entered deep into the forest without anyone's notice. He made sure no one was around before he slowly drew the sword at his side with his right hand, his left hand on the scabbard. This Xiuya sword is Shen Qinqiu's proof of fame as both a technique and the sword at his side. The sword light flashed snow-white and clear without being too bright. Definitely very high-quality goods. Originally, it was written that if your own aura was poured into the weapon, it would emit a glowing light. Shen Qinqiu wanted to figure out how to insert his aura into the sword when the sword in his hand immediately emitted a shimmering white light. It seems like the original Shen Qinqiu's martial abilities and techniques are automatically inherited. He can use his skills without needing to think too much. The sword light was emitted without much direction from him. Shen Qinqiu wanted to see how strong he was, so he carelessly slashed in front of him. Who knew this careless slash is enough to scare people? The sword light shone dazzlingly and swept out in front of him, forcing him to close his eyes. When he opened them again, the ground looked as though it had been ravaged by lightning, a deep ditch lying before him. Fuck! Shen Qinqiu was expressionless, but his heart is about to burst inside. It's even more aggressive than he imagined, worthy of a peak lord. With this martial ability and technique, plus some diligent practice, even if he must face off Luo Binghe in the future, he'll have a chance to flee. That's right. To be able to flee is enough to make Shen Qinqiu laugh for 3 days straight. His needs truly aren't high. He'll be happy just to keep his life. He wants to practice more so he can advance his plans sooner. But then he heard someone stepping on and breaking branches underfoot. Truthfully, that sound is very far away, but his 5 senses are too keen. It's not difficult at all for him to figure out where. Shen Qinqiu looked at the deep ditch in the ground and slid his sword back in the scabbard, retreating into the deep green of the forest unseen. The sound of the footsteps drew closer before Shen Qinqiu could hear that it was not only one person. Sure enough, after a moment, there appeared Luo Binghe's soft, bright face and a fresh, delicate girl's voice in the clearing. Ah Luo, look! There's a very large ditch here in the ground. Hearing this method of addressing him, Shen Qinqiu, who hid in the darkness, almost stumbled. The system helpfully explained. New character, Shen Qinqiu's youngest female disciple, Ning Ying Ying. Shut up. I don't need you to introduce. Those who call Luo Binghe like that won't be just the one. This old man knows. Shen Qinqiu's face was expressionless, though. Following behind Luo Binghe was a pretty young girl who seemed to be a little younger than him, her braided hair bound with orange ribbons, innocent and lovely. Every standard cultivation novel must have an adorable little apprentice sister. And this little apprentice sister gave Shen Qinqiu some complex feelings. This is because he had some inappropriate intentions towards Ning Ying Ying. No, wait. It should be that the original Shen Qinqiu had some inappropriate intentions towards Ning Ying Ying. Shen Qinqiu is a hypocrite. Since outwardly he seems fair and appears to be a pure and selfless love, inside he must be shameless, dirty, and despicable. He's a teacher, yet he had dirty thoughts towards his lively and well-behaved disciples. Several times he tried to lay hands on them and almost succeeded at that. To dare lay hands on the male protagonist's woman. You can imagine the result yourself. When Shen Yuan was reading the novel, he felt it was a bit strange. Why didn't Luo Binghe castrate him? He even went to the reader comment section and joined the group in writing, "Please castrate. If you don't castrate, you'll anger the readers." These kind of comments. If at the time they had succeeded. He would cut off the hand that had written such things at the time. Luo Binghe looked at the slash, but wasn't interested, only smiled warmly. Ning Ying Ying wanted to keep his attention on her, but had no words to say. Oh, which apprentice brother do you think it was who cut the sword slash during practice? Luo Binghe held an axe and began to cut down a tree, said, "Impossible. Among the cultivators at Qingjing Peak, there's only Shi Zun who's capable." Shen Qinqiu mentally coughed twice. "Young boy, you sure know your stuff." Ning Yingying sat on a slanted slab of limestone, resting her head against a hand. "Oh, then that crevice was created from being struck by lightning." Luo Binghe didn't pay attention to her anymore, focusing all his attention on his hands, and continued to earnestly cut down trees. These tree trunks aren't weak and thin. The axe is half rusted. Luo Binghe is only 14 years old, so cutting down the trees is extremely tiring. It's not long before his forehead is covered in sweat. Ning Yingying was bored again and entreated him, spoiled. Luo, come play with me." Even with a face full of sweat, Luo Binghe doesn't rub it off and continues to cut down trees. He said, "It won't do. Apprentice brother instructed me. After taking care of today's firewood, I still have to jump into the water. If I finish chopping wood faster, I'll have time to cultivate some more." Ning Yingying said, "The apprentice brothers are sure bad. It's always you doing this and that. The way I see it, they're purposely bullying you." "I'm going back and telling Shi Zun about this. Guaranteed to let them not dare to bully you again." Shen Qinqiu was frightened and his face changed color. No. You had better never tell me. What should I do? Which side should I teach a lesson to in the end like this? At this time, though Luo Binghe is young, he has tasted all kinds of bitterness in life. Still, he has managed to preserve a heart as pure as white lotus. Towards Ning Yingying, he earnestly said, "Please do not. I don't want Shi Zun to be troubled over these small things. The apprentice brothers don't mean to be malicious and just see that I'm young. They're just giving me more opportunities to practice hard." Shen Qinqiu is truly about to have his heart moved by this child. "You say how good it would be to have a child so sensible." In the middle of Ning Yingying's chatter, Luo Binghe finished cutting enough firewood for his task. After putting things in order, he also sat down on the limestone slab, cross-legged, and began to cultivate. Shen Qinqiu let out a long sigh in his heart. Truthfully, the protagonist's lack of cultivation in the earliest, bitterest scenes of the novel is partly for this reason. It's obvious that Mingfang gave him a false technique to practice with when he joined in the beginning. The more he seeks to cultivate, the more dogshit difference there is between him and the others. It's only because Luo Binghe is such a heavenly talent and has the support of the demonic blood hidden within his body that he managed to feel out and grasp his own cultivation practicing method. Way too unscientific. Just as Shen Qinqiu sighed, he heard the chaotic sound of many footsteps. He immediately knew that it was nothing good and something bad was about to happen. Mingfan brought some low-level disciples with him. At the sight of Ning Yingying, he immediately went up to take her hand. Little apprentice sister, I've been looking for you, you know. How come you never want to drop by our place? The back of the mountains is so large. What will you do when night falls and poisonous snakes emerge? This old apprentice brother has some fun stuff for you to see." He naturally saw the mutely cultivating Luo Binghe treating him as though he was air. Luo Binghe is quite mannerly and opened his eyes to greet him as an apprentice brother. Ning Yingying laughed. "I'm not afraid of any poisonous snakes. Besides, there's Luo here to stay with me, right?" Mingfang slanted his eyes towards Luo Binghe and let out a